Happy new moon of Virgo. The new moon of Virgo perfects Monday, September 2nd at 6:55 p.m. Pacific time, so adjust for your time zone accordingly. This is perfect timing to reset our daily routine, perfect timing to reset our health and fitness regimen, and perfect timing to declutter our space and our mind. Hello, my name is Eliane Nicole. I'm your astrologer and tarot reader, and in this video, I'm going to talk about the new moon of Virgo and what it means not only for the day that it happens, but the entire lunar cycle between September 2nd to October 2nd that the new moon chart tells us so much about. But first, I want to say, if you're watching this on Instagram, I'm only going to post the first 5 minutes of the video here. The entire video will be available on my YouTube channel, Eliane Nicole. My YouTube channel is my name, Eliane Nicole, so please find me there. If you are watching on YouTube, please subscribe. Please hit the notification bell so you're notified every time I post a new video. And please like and comment and share this video with other friends and family who you know enjoy astrology. And if you're watching on Instagram, please make sure that you are following me at astrology.tarot.Eliane Nicole. Also, like and comment and share this video with your friends and family who enjoy astrology. And now for my interpretation of the new moon of Virgo. New moons are always a time to set intentions, to plant the seeds that we want to grow and bloom. And whether we realize it or not, we are planting intentions at the new moon. So why not plant them mindfully? Virgo new moon. Well, Virgo is the mutable yin earth temple of Mercury. So this is a Mercury-ruled new moon. Mercury is in the sign of Leo, just newly direct after a retrograde season that we went through. So, this is a creative Mercury and a heart-centered Mercury. And Virgo is all about, daily routine, health and fitness regimen, streamlining, organizing, preparing, improving, purifying, detoxing, cleansing. So it's great to set intentions around all of these Virgo type of topics. At the same time, this Virgo new moon is opposing Saturn in Pisces. And in case I didn't mention it, this Virgo new moon is at 11 degrees Virgo. So, look at where 11 degrees Virgo is in your chart. And you might also want to incorporate the topics of that house into your new moon intentions, or you will notice that that house happens to be where you are naturally feeling an urge to reset or make a new start. So this new moon is opposing Saturn. Saturn is a planet about, our structures and our boundaries and our limitations. So an opposition to Saturn isn't always easy, but it's necessary. It's necessary to bring structure to what it is that we are, the plans that we're implementing right now. And the Virgo Pisces axis, oppositions really bring, we can feel that there's opposing forces to our plans. And in the case of Saturn, he's telling us, here's the checklist, here's what you have to do to create the proper foundation for what you're trying to build in this season. And, oftentimes Saturn is telling us, where the caution is and what our limitations are, what the restrictions are around the situation, what we need to correct. And the Virgo Pisces axis, it can be around our health. It can be around, what the details are versus what the big picture is, or, issues about faith versus logic and reason, reality versus the dream. All of these topics can come up during a Virgo Pisces opposition. Virgo really wants to organize everything, and Pisces can be a little confused and out there. And so we're having to bring together these energies so that we can, successfully move forward in whatever the plans are that we're trying to implement. Because Virgo loves to plan, and Virgo wants every detail of the plan to be in place and to go perfectly. And so that's the other thing about Virgo season and the Virgo new moon energy, is that we want to be careful that, as we're improving and streamlining and perfecting or attempting to perfect, to not hold ourselves or others to a standard of perfection, because perfection doesn't ever exist. And Virgo energy, we can get too in our heads, too analytical, and too critical. And so those are the cautions with the opposition to Saturn as well during this cycle. We are officially in eclipse season. There will be a lunar eclipse around the 17th, 18th, 19th, somewhere in there. I will be coming back with another video about the eclipse, so stay tuned. But the fact that we're in eclipse season means that we are approaching, some karmic turning points also on the Virgo Pisces axis. This is an axis that we're going to be working with a lot as a collective over the next couple of years, like through 2027, and also in our personal lives in varying ways, depending on where the Virgo Pisces axis falls in your chart. So this is a good time to bring some awareness to where that axis is in your chart. And if you don't know, I encourage you to contact me for a reading. I love reading for people one-on-one. I believe that that's how astrology works best, when you work one-on-one with an astrologer. I read on Zoom, so I can read for people anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world. I love doing it. I would love to do it for you, so please reach out to me. And we can get to start to look at where the Virgo Pisces axis falls in your chart, where the lunar eclipse is happening in your chart, and a lot of other cool things that are going on this year and in 2025 that it would be great to look at. So back to the Virgo new moon cycle. So aside from the Virgo new moon being in an opposition to Saturn, it's also square Jupiter, who's in Gemini. And Jupiter in Gemini has all this information and all of this knowledge and so many things that it wants to talk about. And Virgo is busy trying to organize this and categorize this and, all these great ideas. And Virgo's like, how do we put this into a plan? This is wonderful. There's an abundance of information and there's an abundance of ideas, and there's, maybe some really great writing that's going on and all of this, but Virgo is trying to keep up with it and keep it all organized and keep it all categorized and streamlined. And so, this is, Gemini and Virgo are two of the smartest signs in the zodiac. And so there's a lot about kind of information management and how we're organizing the information in this cycle and bringing that all together. And aside from the aspects that the new moon is making, because the ingress chart of the new moon, it kind of tells a story of the entire month, again, from September to October 2nd. Other important aspects that are taking place at the same time, even though they're not directly related to the new moon, is Mars square Neptune. That's on the Gemini Pisces axis. And so this is, you know, for the collective, this certainly has to do with holy wars. It has to do with martyrdom. It can have to do with, you know, battles at sea, trouble in the ocean, you know, fighting, accidents, injuries around water, things like that. In people's personal lives, if it's at a direct degree, it can definitely have to do with issues around addiction or delusion. It can be a feeling of being directionless, lost. But again, this is going to only be personal to people who have planets, especially at 22 degrees Pisces or Gemini, Virgo, or Sagittarius. But for the collective, there's definitely, like, you know, we can see a big kind of martyr situation that appears on the world stage. Again, more with the holy wars, you know, in general, there can also be some kind of spiritual disillusionment, you know, and that's on a collective and or personal level that we're dealing with in this cycle with Mars in Gemini square Neptune in Pisces. Another aspect that's happening at the same time as the new moon is Mercury in Leo trine Chiron in Aries. And I think that this aspect is going to be a very prominent energy during the entire lunar cycle, because Mercury is the ruler of the new moon. And Mercury in Leo trining Chiron. So Chiron is the wounded healer. Chiron is mentors. Chiron is doctors. Chiron is people who are sick or wounded as well. So there's a lot about health in this cycle. The Pisces Virgo axis is the axis of health. This is a great time to check in with your doctor, to get a checkup, to examine what's going on with your health, to double down on, you know, just treating our bodies and our minds right, feeding our bodies and our minds properly, taking care of it properly, making sure that it's a part of our daily routine to properly care for our bodies and our minds. But the Mercury trine Chiron, I love it. It's very healing. It shows about getting really good information from doctors or good information from therapists that can really help us with our healing process. And then it can also have to do with things, because it's Mercury, the planet of communication. So it has to do with things like apologies being made, amends being made, a time for forgiveness, you know. I know that during the Mercury retrograde cycle, there were miscommunications, there were misunderstandings, there were arguments, you know. Mars in Gemini has that sharp tongue, you know, people saying things and, you know, just arguments happening, or, you know, people no filter from the head to the mouth and getting into situations. And now in this cycle, there may be, you know, now we can have healing communication. Now we can see some apologies, some amends, some forgiveness, and moving forward in that way. So I do love that aspect. And then another thing that's happening in this chart, which I touched on in my Venus into Libra video, which if you haven't watched that, go and watch that, because Venus in Libra, during some very tumultuous cosmic times and tumultuous times in the world, I do feel like Venus in Libra is a place in our chart and just in life that we can look to for some goodness and some grace and some pleasure during what are some otherwise tumultuous times in the world. And Venus, of course, has to do with art and beauty and pleasure and attraction and friendship and love and, justice and diplomacy. And Venus is lining up at the time of this new moon with the South Node, which can go either way. The South Node has to do with an exit point. It has to do with releases, but it has to do with spirituality as well. What connects us to the spiritual side of the Venusian topics, like beauty and art and love and justice, not just the side that our ego is wrapped up in around those topics, but what is the spiritual nature of those topics. There could be a letting go that still needs to happen in these areas. I think this is a cycle of women releasing some beautiful art into the world, but Venus is also there with Black Moon Lilith, so the dark feminine is here, and I think that there's a release around the dark feminine going on in this cycle. And there's also Juno is here, who's the wife asteroid. And I think in my Venus into Libra video, I focused a lot about marriage in terms of romantic love. But Juno also has to do with business partnerships, creative collaborations, and sometimes even best friends. Anywhere where there's that like one-on-one kind of love commitment. And so there's a lot of karma being released in this cycle around marriage, friendship, the dark feminine, beauty, justice, art, romance, attraction, pleasure, all of these topics. And if you want to know more about that, again, and where it is in your chart, I encourage you to contact me for a reading. I think I hit on most of the points that I wanted to explore. There's always so much more to say about these topics, and I'm just giving the general broad strokes. The way that you understand how it applies to you the most is seeing where these points fall in your chart and which house topics and how they aspect your personal planets, because everyone deals with things depending on more on what their own personal astrology is. Your Venus transits are going to be very much colored by how Venus is placed in your natal chart. Your Mars transits are going to be very much colored by how Mars is placed in your natal chart. The nativity is always the foundation for any individual. But I like to give these readings because they're a free offering of the general overview of what's going on in the transits. We're all under the same sky, but we're all interpreting it differently depending on our own astrological coding. But by listening to these videos, you're going to get a good idea of what's going on in la gente, like in the public. Like when you're out and about, you'll be picking this up. You'll be taking it in the media, in the headlines, in the art that you're viewing and taking in. And if it's not happening to you personally, it'll be what your friends or family are talking about or what's going on with the people around you. So it's good to be aware and sensitive of what the cosmic energies are at work. And please contact me for a reading. My information can be found of how to contact me on my socials. I look very forward to reading for you, and enjoy this new moon of Virgo and this whole entire lunar cycle of the Virgo new moon from September 2nd to August 2nd. And I will be back soon with another video on what's going on in the cosmos. So stay subscribed and stay tuned. Thank you. Thank you for joining me.